There's one match I've got to ask you about before we let go, and this is picking from the thousands of matches I could ask you about. But something I've always been curious about is, One Night Stand 2006. Obviously, your big moment against John Cena. In front of probably the most hostile one-sided crowd I've ever seen. Obviously,
Dude,
you missed out on the first One Night Stand pay-per-view due to injury, and you were there, but not in the way you wanted to be. Um, I guess how was it to be part of that ECW homecoming, but also how far in advance did you find out that you were going over Cena for both the WWE and ECW titles?
well, it was incredible being the show. I mean, that's what that night was about. Not that every match wasn't awesome. I mean, I love both of those pay-per-views. One
Yeah,
night,
so did I.
they were so much fun, and they were such good examples of our vibration and everything that we stood for. And the crowd, man, forget about it. You couldn't replace that crowd on any night ever. They were the reason that match it stands out so much for me as my crowning moment is because I was fighting for everything that I believed in, everything that I'd held on to through my whole career against everybody trying to change me. And I was fighting against the guy that stood for everything that was wrestling at the time, that WWE was shoving down the fans' throat and saying
Yeah,
this is wrestling. That's how the crowd looked at it. And the build up for that was my entire career.
yeah,
So I felt indestructible that night. In fact, during most of that ECW run, I was just so happy to be able to represent my favorite style on what I thought was going to be the WWE's center stage.
mm,
Turns out it was more like kind of behind the curtain and behind the dustpan part of the stage. But we were, but we were there, and it was awesome to have that opportunity. And as far as going over, like I seriously would not let myself believe that was going to happen until it actually happened. Like the whole time, anything can happen. It's live action,
yeah,
Like
yeah,
almost every time I jump up to the top rope to do the frog splash, I'm like, please don't fall, please land your feet, one on the rope and one on the turnbuckle. And I jump up, then I'm always like, whew, and it's because I can't have too solid of expectations. And when it came to holding that belt up at the end of the night, I had myself like half convinced that, somehow that was going to be taken from me still
yeah,
until Paul did the 1, 2, 3, handed me the belt, and then it was real. You know,
yeah,
I held the belt up, and everyone reacted, and I was like, okay, this is really happening now. Like
yeah,
that just happened. Like they can't take that from me now.
yeah.
They can't rewind it. We got to go forward now with this. Sweet. And I was so happy because I believed that if everybody had a chance to just come across the product of ECW, I thought enough eyes would stick to it because I had that car crash appeal
Yeah,
where you can't look away and you're like, what are these guys doing?
yeah,
And it was fun. A lot of people think, oh, the new version of ECW, WWE version, was insulting. It was nothing like the old one. But, when we started, it was
Oh, it started off great.
ECW means
Yeah,
anything goes. That's what it was. Once they lost that and went to one extreme rules match per night, they were trying to get rid of it.
yeah, yeah.
Had some
Well,
great matches. The Test, Bob Holly, Big Show, Sabu, all during that time, when we were opening up um, with the new third brand as ECW. So I was very happy at that time.
yeah, ECW was my company back in the 90s. And, when I interviewed Stevie Richards and I asked him why was ECW so special? And I think he defined it perfectly. He said it was authenticity on your television. And that's what it was. And I think that first iteration, the '05 One Night Stand, the '06 One Night Stand, and the first few weeks afterwards, it really felt like you still had that energy. There's a lot of ECW originals, and then it just went downhill, and it went downhill fast.